Hello and welcome back to another a Kiwi, two Brits and a Yank talk, this time Baltic flags, all for this special big Baltics Bonanza. More about that later. And here we are with the old crew back. We've got Dave and Tracy. Say hello.
Hey guys.
And all the way across from the pond, we've got Joey B as well. Hi, Joey.
Cheers.
And the clues in the name, we are talking Baltics this episode and all things related, not just national flags, but as we go through this episode, we'll find out that there are additional flags, all to do with the Baltic countries, and we'll cover those bit by bit. And so first, I think, although I've not told them yet, we'll probably go in geographical order from north to south, which means we go over to, I hope, Joey. Do you want to kick us off?
All right, we will. Yep, you are correct. I am the northernmost country. So you may have guessed by my shirt that I'm talking about the flag of Estonia. As you can see, Estonia's flag is a horizontal triband of blue, black, and white. It's called in the local language the sinimustvalge, which literally means blue, black, white. It was adopted in 1918. When Estonia and the other Baltic countries gained independence from what was from Russia. It was the flag of Estonia until the Soviet invasion and annexation of Estonia in 1940, in which case the flag of Estonia was outlawed, and to possess it was punishable by many different things, including death. Even using the colors of the Estonian flag in any sort of decoration or advertisement would elicit those same penalties. So the Soviets were very clear that they did not want any type of Estonian identity around the sinimustvalge. When they realized that the collapse of the USSR was imminent, people began flying the flags again. It flew on government buildings again, and it was readopted as the official flag of Estonia August 7th, 1990, 1 year before Estonia officially regained independence. One of the things I love about Estonia's flag is that it tends to mirror Estonia's landscape in winter. So you've probably seen pictures of the landscape where you've got the snow on the ground, and then you've got like a forest of birch trees that are so dense they look black, and then the clear blue sky. And I just think it's so cool that the flag, whether by design or whether by chance, mirrors the Estonian landscape in winter. It's really cool to me. And the only other flag I know that might do that would be Ukraine, with the fields of wheat, and then which are gold, and then the blue sky. One other thing, and Tara, I'll have to send you some pictures of this. When the flag was outlawed during the occupation, it didn't mean that people didn't have the flag. When we went to the Occupation Museum in Tallinn, the capital of Estonia, you could see a couple of instances where people had made like these tiny, tiny little Estonian flags and kept them, in their pocket, kept them at home, hidden from plain view, because they wanted to preserve their cultural identity, their ethnic identity. And it was just so interesting to me that this flag had so much meaning for these people who were forbidden to fly it. And there's some other countries where this happened, of course. Latvia and Lithuania come to mind to start with, but it's very interesting to see just how much this flag means to the people of Estonia.
I must admit, when I was there reading about it, there's a lot of history and pride with the flag, and it was everywhere as well, which is great. But going back to the design, I think this is one of the, and I keep reading it and seeing it everywhere, one of the most liked, it's really bad, but never mind, tribrands, especially horizontal tribands, I think that's out there from a national flag perspective, and I can see why. To me, it shouldn't work because they are the most depressing colours known to humankind. But I think it's a spectacular national flag. I love it to bits. I think it's brilliant.
Pressing colors.
Well, black and blue. Look at Tracy's feet.
So look at this particular shade of blue. I mean, you can see it here. There's no other national flag that really has like this specific shade of blue, and it's absolutely stunning. It's gorgeous. I mean, it shares the same color palette as Botswana, which also works very well and was probably one of the best loved flags in Africa, just because it is so different than what you see on the rest of the continent, and it's just the colors work together very well. You're right, having black and blue next to each other shouldn't work. Like when you look at Russia's flag, you've got red and blue next to each other, and then the white stripe by itself, and they don't work as well. This does, and I don't know why. It's the magic of the Sinimustvalga.
Yeah, I think it's that shade of blue, and then the white just makes it pop. I think it's a flag that stands out in any flag lineup. It just stands out, and amongst other flags, like seeing it behind us, it just pops. I love the coolness of it, and yeah, it reminds me of Botswana as well. So yeah, extra kudos to it. But yeah, it's stunning. It's so popular, and rightly so. Yeah.
Yeah, for me, when I first got into flags, it was one that kind of passed me by because I like the busy and a little bit more extravagant flags. But then over time, as I learned more about it, the background that Joey just pointed out, the history of it, how it was buried by the Soviets and then brought back, it had this huge meaning behind it that made me appreciate it so much more. But then you tie in the geographical colours representing the landscape, and it totally, to me, trumps France as the best triband flag out there. But if you want to separate horizontal versus vertical, we could do that and say they're the top two. But I would definitely put this above France as the king of the tribands. For me, a very stunning colour palette. I think it's unbelievable, and now it's definitely one of my favourites in the national flags. So yeah, there you go.
It sounds like you're onto a winner then, Joey. Not that we're marking these flags, but
yeah.
I think you picked a good one there. No, that's cool. Right. So we'll move on then to, as all these flags, Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania are all tribands. We will go to the odd one out then, which is the middle of it. Over to you, Dave and Tracy, for Latvia.
The beautiful flag of Latvia. So, although the current colours of the national flag were adopted on the 18th of November 1918, the Latvian flag is reputed to date from 1279, which would make it one of the oldest national flags, which is really interesting.
Yep.
It was recognised by law on the 20th of January 1923. When the communists annexed Latvia in June 1940, the flag became illegal within Latvia itself. However, the West never recognised the Soviet annexation of the Baltic states, and Latvian legations continued to operate in Western capitals. The Latvian flag began to be used again in Latvia in 1988, and it was legalised on the 29th of September 1988, replacing the Soviet Latvian flag on the 27th of February 1990. Latvia formally regained its independence on the 21st of August 1991. Now, the Soviet national flag, some might argue, Joey B, looks suspiciously like one of the best flags in the world, Kiribati. But, let's get back to the actual flag. So in 1917, a prominent Latvian artist agreed the shade of red should be crimson, and the width of the white stripe in the centre should be 1/5 of the flag's width. We personally thought the flag was a bit boring until we received it in real life. And then we realised that it's actually a very strong design because of that deep red, and then the white just really offsets it. So it's actually one that's really grown on us, isn't it?
For sure. I thought it was more of a browny colour when we saw it online. And as we've found over time, emojis never do, and graphics online never do a flag justice, especially when they're this big versus something this big. And then you get it up close and you actually fly it. That's just such a simplistic, beautiful design, and it actually won me over big time. The shade of all that crimson is actually gorgeous, I think, and the white makes it really pop. So, again, another flag that's been taken away and brought back, and I think it's something the Latvian people should be really proud of.
Yeah, I feel like if it had 3 equal stripes, it wouldn't be the same.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be nearly as effective. I agree.
You guys' thoughts on Latvia?
It would also be Austria otherwise, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Boring.
Yes.
I agree with you, Tracy. I think that the thinner stripe in the middle gives it a bit more personality than what you see with Austria, which is, you know, almost identical in design and color, but Austria's got the bright red and Latvia does not. When this flag really captured me was when I had just gotten to Riga, and you know, I was on a bridge overlooking the river there. I don't remember the name of the river, but I saw this gigantic Latvian flag flying in the distance, and it was so big. It looked like it was waving in slow motion. I mean, it was just like gently going back and forth and back and forth. And it was a cloudy, gloomy day. But even so, this flag just was awe-inspiring to see it. I mean, the color still popped it with this gray, gloomy background, and it was absolutely breathtaking to see it. And I think Latvia is probably one of the underrated flags that we
Yeah.
see, not just in Europe, but everywhere. But I think today's point, it's a fantastic flag. It's a fantastic design. It's simple. It doesn't need to be any more complicated than it is, but it has enough personality and quirkiness because of the specific color, because of the thinner stripe that, you know, it stands out to me.
Yeah, I'd actually hate to see, like, say, Estonia and Latvia have something blink on it. I actually think it would take away from the design, which is weird coming from me, I know, but I actually think the simplicity of it works better. And because of that thin band in the middle, I think wedging an emblem or logo on there would make it too small to see. But if you made it bigger, it would kind of be weird covering the three bands and not really being in one particular band like you see on other flags like El Salvador and Peru and whatever. So I think just leave it alone. It's really it's really good the way it is.
It's funny. The county that I live in, Montgomery County, has a flag that I've described as the love child between Latvia and Austria, because it's got the dimensions of the Austrian flag, but the colors more or less of the Latvian flag. And it does have a coat of arms in the middle of it. And it's decent, but it's no Latvia.
I'd agree. And I think, Dave, going back to your point about the equal stripe or strips through the middle of it, I would agree that going back to Austria with its coat of arms in the middle looks a decent flag. Now, again, that's unlike me to come up with such a thing, because obviously their coat of arms is busy and eagles and all the other stuff. But it works because of its three equal flags, or three equal stripes. But you're right. It would just Latvia doesn't need it at all.
No,
it works perfectly as it is. So yeah, and I agree with you, Joey. Everything that you just said. It is a beautiful flag. It's the Daugava River. I haven't obviously just picked that out of my head. I've looked that up while you were talking, because yeah, I had to drag the other half while we were in Riga as well, onto that little island just so I could get up close. Obviously, it's a huge flag, but you're right. All these big flags look like they're all flying in slow motion. It looked amazing. I must admit, driving from the taxi to the hotel, and as we crossed the river, I was going, oh, there, I need to go there.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know exactly what you feel. So but yeah, I love, and I don't think, and I don't know about yours, Dave, Tracy, because yeah, while mine sits here, it's not the right red on my flag. It needs to be a much darker on the version that I've got. I don't know whether yours is the right red on yours as well, but I yeah, the proper that maroon red that it comes with is a beautiful shade, a bit like the Qatar, I think.
Yeah,
flag.
that's
a beautiful red.
Yeah.
Compared to Bahrain, I think Qatar wins it hands down because of that, and I think Latvia does the same because of that shade.
I have to say this because I'm a total merchandise whore. Like, whenever I travel, I have to buy stuff. Not only did I get a hat in Latvia, but I got this ring in Riga as well. And I don't know if you can see it, but it's actually the shape of Latvia.
Yes.
Cool.
And it's a little bit
That's
tarnished
quite
right now. I need to polish it, but it's the shape of Latvia. And I wore this to work one day, and one of my coworkers was like, "Why do you have like the bat signal on your ring?" I'm like, "That's not the bat signal, Latvia."
Right. Well, we'll do the last southern of the Baltics then, which is Lithuania. Now, up until about an hour and a half ago, I thought I had the Lithuanian flag, and while I was looking for it, couldn't find it. So I've had to go for Benin instead
gonna
because it's the
ask you
nearest
about
I've
that.
got.
I was going to ask you about that
Oh my god! Oh my god!
because I saw that when you
Over
were holding
there.
your head. Because I'm like, wait a minute, it's not flying. It's not horizontally. The yellow is in the wrong spot for Lithuania. It's not beneath.
I'm still processing that.
I was more concerned about the ironing effort on Estonia.
Yeah, it's pretty rubbish, isn't it? I was like, you've either got the most tattered flag ever, or
Tracy, thank you for saying that because he gave me shit when I flew the flag of Topeka for the first time and I didn't iron it.
yeah.
It's got to get you a proper iron. I'm like, okay.
I was just running out of time, and it's been sat. I actually bought it in Estonia, so that's how long I've had it now. For a good couple of weeks, it's sat at home, and it came out of the
2 weeks.
bag about a week ago, and it's sat there. And yes, about half an hour before we went on the call, I was thinking, must get this done, and then that'll do. But which obviously it hasn't. Thanks, Tracy. So
Well done.
right, Benin. Anyway, Lithuania.
Right, the Benin flag. Here we go.
Yes, here we are. Right, the final of the horizontal tricolours, and well, they're all horizontal tricolours. Although, do we call Latvia a tricolour? It's not really. There's only two colours in there. It's a tri-band.
A tri-band. Yeah.
But two colours. Anyway, we've moved on. To be fair, Lithuania pretty much follows the same history as Estonia and Latvia. Well, the first flag, anyway, for the country came around in the late 1700s. And again, the French obviously get involved because everybody seems to love their tri-band and want to base it all on that. It was Lithuania Minor, which is where the green, white, red flag they originally had, which dated back to the 17th century. Of course, and then the Russians turn up and do what they do best at the time. And then during 1905, there was the Great Siamese of Vilnius, where they proposed a new national flag for Lithuania. Now, originally they came up with the Grand Duchy of Lithuanian flag, which is this. That was the original flag that they wanted to readopt, but that was rejected at the time, going, it's all to do with revolution, and we're not sure if that's the right thing. So they sent a load of people away to go come up with some good ideas of what we can have as a national flag. And then in 1917, so 13 years later, at a Vilnius conference, they'd come up with a red and green flag, just a bicolour at the time, which everybody was rather excited. And the Lithuanian immigrants in the USA said it was a great idea, and they loved the colours and all that. So there's a positive of immigration there. But everybody who was at the conference at the time thought it was lacking something. And so it was suggested that they would put a bit like Latvia, a thin yellow line in the middle to break up the red and the green. And of course, like most people, nobody could actually agree whether that was a good thing or not, until about 1918, when they eventually agreed that it should be, as it is now, the yellow, green and red. And that was fine until World War II, and then 1940, the Soviets take over, and as we've already covered, the same thing happens again. You can't fly any state symbols, no flags, nothing like that. So again, we pretty much mirror the stories that we've had thus far. Until the reform movement in Lithuania turned up in 1988, and they started waving this flag at the time, which didn't have much pushback from the Soviets, so they carried on. And eventually, the Soviets agreed that the flag, obviously not Benin, but the ones behind you, Tracy, was eventually agreed that it could fly again on the Gediminas, that's it, the Gediminas, yes, tower, which is pretty much the barometer of what flag is the national flag in Lithuania at the time. So whatever flag's flying up there, that's the official one. So the Soviets agreed that it could be flown back up at the tower, as it had done many, many years before that. And then it was officially granted the status of its flag on the 18th of November 1988, so several years before independence turned up. And it's been flying there ever since. They do take it down every year to replace it with very similar looking one for the following year. So that keeps getting changed. But that's, yes, a bit like the rest of the Baltics. It's a similar story background to how they keep their flag eventually after having it before the Soviets and then afterwards.
What I found interesting when I was in Vilnius, I saw that other flag that you described, like the original proposed flag, the red flag with the white stripe and the white horse and the man on it. I saw that flying as much as I saw the triband flying. And I had to ask our guide what that flag was, and she explained that was like the historic flag of Lithuania, not the official one that's currently used, but it is the historic flag of the country. And I think for a lot of people, they're co-equal. In fact, I have a shot glass, and that's the flag that's on it.
Yeah, you're right. You'll see, as you say in Vilnius, you'll see that more than you will the city flag. To be fair, flying the city one, you have to really look for it. But yes, this old historic state flag, yeah, is everywhere on every corner, which is interesting.
Let's bring it back, because I've never been a fan of this flag. I just don't like it. Never like the colour scheme, especially if you see it as a picture online. It's even worse. As an actual flag, it's actually quite bright and colourful. It's sort of grown on me a little bit, but still, out of these three Baltic flags, it's definitely number 3 for me. But again, I like the history of, you know, how it's come back, which is great. That as an actual flag, not my favourite, unfortunately.
I think as a flag flying on its own, it's beautiful. I love the warm colours, but amongst all the amazing flags in the world, it doesn't do it for me. Yeah, it's not particularly my colour scheme either.
No,
but it's still, you know, it's still a beautiful flag in its own right. But it's not ever going to win any flag contest.
It's not even going to get out of pool play, that's for sure.
I love seeing the 3 Baltic nation flags together, and I kind of line them up here as well. Basically all the same design, completely different color schemes for all of them. And together, I think they work incredibly well. You know, you've got Lithuania, to me, of the 3, it's the bright one, it's the happy one, not that the other ones aren't happy, although Tara did say Estonia was depressing. It's bright, it's colorful, it's got a shade of red that isn't too dark and foreboding like you can see on other flags. It's just, it's fun. I think it's fun. And yes, we do have a lot of red, gold, and green flags in the world, and most of them are in Africa, but I guess I'm always intrigued by the ones that aren't, because it's the Pan-African color palette, but it's not in Africa. And why? It's the story behind it. So that's why, you know, I enjoyed hearing what you had to say about, you know, how the colors were picked, why these particular colors were picked. And like I said, I think together, when you see these 3 Baltic flags together, I think they complement each other very well.
I would definitely agree with that, because when I set up the backdrop this morning, I put up Estonia and Latvia, and then when I put up Lithuania next to it, I was like, oh, that makes the whole thing pop. Like, it was the yellow strip that actually brought it all together. And all 3 together look amazing, but Lithuania on its own, for me, doesn't quite cut the mustard, whereas Estonia or Latvia on its own, I really like. But that's just personal preference. But yeah, all 3 together, stunning. Yeah.
No, I think I have a tendency to disagree. Out of the 3 of them, this would probably sit at the bottom of my list. Sorry, Lithuania, but for all the same reasons, there's nothing that pops, to use your word, Tracy, out of like the other 2 do for whatever reason. And it's just a good flag. There's not much else we can say about it, really. But it's good because of the history, and it's, you know, it shows that it's independent and all that good stuff. But Estonia and Latvia seem to do it slightly better.
A lot better.
Yes.
Although in a pinch, you can pick the Pan-African flag of your choice and put it behind you in a podcast, and it works.
Thank you, Benin. Right, then we come to the second half of this, where really the group of 4 of us don't really know what flags are now being covered. But so part of the remit was that we'll talk about our national flags, and then to choose any other flag within that particular country and the flag of your choice. So we'll go back again. We'll go from north to south because it seems obvious. So we'll go back to you, Joey, and ask which flag of Estonia have you chosen in addition?
I can tell you which flags I didn't pick, and that's all of their county flags because they're all boring. They're all pretty much the same. It's a white stripe, a green stripe, and then some coat of arms in the white stripe on top. And I'm like, why? Have some creativity. So out went the county flags. So I was looking at city flags. I've got the capital Tallinn behind me, underneath this scarf here that I bought in Estonia.
Which is a fabulous flag. I love it. Of course.
It has 6 horizontal stripes alternating blue and white. To me, it's kind of boring. It's fine. It's kind of boring. And it also kind of bothers me that the top stripe is white and or blue and the bottom stripe is white. And I like for the top and the bottom to be the same.
I agree.
Like in the US flag, the top stripe is red, the bottom stripe is red. If the bottom stripe was white, it would annoy me. It's my OCD saying it's not complete. It needs one more stripe. And that's kind of how I feel when I look at Tallinn. There were some cool national level flags, like the naval jack of Estonia, which looks like basically the flag of the UK or the Basque Country flag, but in Estonia's colors. But what I opted for was the flag of the first city that I set foot in when I went to Estonia, and that's the town of Pärnu. But the flag of Pärnu is essentially a Nordic cross flag, and that's why it stood out when I first saw it. It's a blue similar to the shade of blue that you see in Estonia's flag with a white cross on it, and that's it. And when I first saw it, I'm like, yeah, I didn't expect to see a Nordic cross in a Baltic country. The more I learned about Estonia, the more I realized that it's kind of in this sort of in-between spot. It's, I want to say quasi-Baltic, quasi-Nordic. Geographically speaking, it is part of the Baltics. It's geographically in the same piece of land as Lithuania and Latvia. Perhaps culturally, but definitely linguistically, it's aligned with Finland, which is in the Nordics. Finnish, Estonian, and for whatever reason, Hungarian are in the same language group. I don't get Hungarian, but that's okay. And there are, from what I can tell, quite a few similarities between words in Estonian and words in Finnish. If you look at some of the early proposals for Estonia's flag, a lot of them were Nordic cross designs, whether it was a 2-color design or a 3-color design. A lot of it was around that Nordic cross theme.
We actually had one.
Really cool. That's why Estonia fascinates me from that standpoint, because like I say, it's in that in-between land. It's, I say, part Baltic and part Nordic. Another flag I want to talk about, and I'm going to send it to you guys because, Dave, this is right up your alley.
Oh, let's have a look.
It's the flag of, I'm going to butcher the pronunciation, so apologies to anybody who is from Estonia. Saaremaa parish or Saaremaa municipality. Saaremaa is the largest island that's off the coast of Estonia. So when you look at the map of Estonia and you see that big ass island out there, that is Saaremaa. I just think I came across this flag when I was seeing if there's anything other than Pärnu that I might want to talk about. And this struck me as being incredibly cool. It's a blue flag with basically a yellow square in the middle, and within that yellow square, there's a blue shield and a white ship. And what makes the ship different than other ship designs I've seen is that it's coming at you.
Yes.
On that side profile, it's coming at you. And the sail, the giant sail on the ship, has what appears to be, well, at first I thought it was a comet, but the more I looked into Saaremaa, I think it's a meteor. And the reason I say that is because Saaremaa is home to the Kali meteorite crater field, which is thought to have been created about 3,500 years ago when a meteor basically disintegrated over the area and rained down on that part of Estonia, or what would become Estonia. The largest crater has a diameter of 360 feet, or about 110 meters for everybody who's not American, and is about 72 feet deep, or 22 meters deep, again, for everybody who's not American. We suck at the metric system, I'm sorry. So I've got to do the feet.
It's not all you suck at.
So, like I said, it's one of the only places I know on the planet where you can actually see the meteor craters still. It hasn't been eroded away, it hasn't been filled up by something else. It's not, you know, in the ocean and underwater. It's there in on this island. And the more I thought about this flag and what that might mean, I don't know for sure, but I'm betting that comet on the flag is actually the meteor that broke up and created this crater field, including this lake, about 3,500 years ago. So I think that that's a really, really cool design. And I'm not normally big on the ships, but this particular ship, I just think it's so quirky and unique and cool, and I want this flag.
All right. Joey finally likes a ship flag.
That's right. I wanted the flag of Parnu to hang over here, and unfortunately I couldn't find it in time. So I had to make a substitution, but I do like the flag of Parnu, and I want to have that one as well.
Could have just put
Very
up
cool.
the Shetland Islands, surely.
It's a different
Well,
blue.
I really like it, obviously. So you know.
I'm assuming you like it not only because it's got a ship on there, but as Joey mentioned, it's head on, a bit like
Yeah.
a Slater train.
That's
coming
exactly,
at you.
that's exactly what I was thinking. It's like it's coming at you.
Coming at you. I mean, you look at I love Finland and everything about Finland, but oh my God, you look at Helsinki's flag and it's so ugly.
Yeah, not a fan. I know Tareth is though.
And then you've got Saaremaa Parish, and it's stunning to me. It just really is. It's just so cool.
That's a cool flag. Gone under the radar, big time. Never seen it before. So very good find there, Mr. Joey B. Very good.
Another interesting note about Saaremaa, our tour guide in Estonia, her name was Kuli. That's where she was from. And of course, she grew up during the Soviet occupation, and she went to school, I want to say, at the University of Tartu, which is on the mainland in Estonia. If she wanted to go home and visit her family, she had to use her passport to do it, even though it's all part of Estonia, or what was then the Estonian SSR. She had to have not only, you know, use her passport, but get approval from the communist authorities in occupied Estonia to be able to go to this island to visit her family, because they feared that this island was a launching ground for people trying to flee and go over to Sweden or Finland. They're kind of equidistant depending upon where on the island you are. But she had to like jump through hoops and wait months to get permission to go home and visit her family when she was in school.
What does Tareth think of this flag? Is it busy enough for you?
It's yeah, it's busy. I'm just trying to squint and there see look what it looks like from a distance. And apart from a big yellow mess, it's it's a flag with a flag on it, isn't it? At the top of the mast, it's another flag. It's it's a boat
He
on
hates
a
it.
flag.
He hates it.
He hates it.
It's just it's a boat coming at you. So it's just it's busy.
It's got no imagination whatsoever.
But I do like the story behind it. I like what it's trying to tell me, but I think they can do it in a more stylized, less is more version than that. Still coming at you. That's
How about just have like a triangle on it, and that's just an abstract boat, just for you.
What's wrong with that? What possibly is wrong with that?
Oh my God.
Well, obviously for our Latvian subnational flag, we wanted to choose something very close to our hearts. You guessed it. It's the hedgehog flag, Viljaka. For 53 euros, did you know you can buy your very own Viljaka flag cufflinks from Amazon, Germany?
But since we found absolutely no information on this flag, we're going with the flag of Riga. It's a hedgehog. No, there's no information out there. Maybe they have a hedgehog, infestation or something.
We did consider making up our own symbology, but we didn't think the flag community would appreciate it.
And you know what we're like, it would be weird. So we're going with Riga, and I'm taking Riga. So it is one of the official symbols of Riga, along with the coat of arms of Riga. The flag consists of a horizontal bicolour blue and white, which you can see behind Joey. Thanks, Joe, for having that up. That's very, very convenient. With the coat of arms of Riga in the middle. They actually have some regulations regarding the design of the flag. It has to be divided into equal parts, blue at the top, white at the bottom, a 1-to-1 ratio, the colour ratio, and the ratio of the width and length is 1:2. The greater coat of arms of Riga on the flag is placed in the centre, blah, blah, blah. It's got to be 2/5 of the width of the flag. There's quite a lot of regulations. Okay, so the flag should be used free of charge by the person on the buildings in the administrative territory of Riga without the permission of the Symbolic Commission. The flag is permanently placed at the Riga City Council and the Riga City Municipality Administration. The flag is prohibited for use at buildings in an emergency condition. Emergency condition. At buildings for which the facade is being repaired, you cannot use it on those, and it cannot be in a damaged or faded condition.
But rightly so, because, you know, buildings that are being repaired are so ugly when they have scaffolding and all sorts. So the flag shouldn't be associated with that. So
Agreed.
I agree. Yeah.
Right. The flag can be used for representational and decorative purposes, maintaining proportions of certain length, width, and colour, mind you. The flag is used on a flag scale basis. What's that?
So I was going to ask, can that then be therefore used as a decorative manner on scaffolding around a building that is under repair?
No, you know, you're just being difficult.
Only if
Stop
you
looking for loopholes and listen.
only if you fly the flag of Sarima Parish as well.
Okay,
Move
so
on.
it's forbidden to use the flag pennant of Riga on the facade of a building. Individuals and organisations who use the flag for commercial purposes must obtain from the Symbolic Commission as a permission as for the usage of other symbols of Riga. What else we got here? Okay. The blue and white flag of Riga, which is used today, was created in 1673, so it's pretty old. When it was approved in the statutes of Riga, blue and white bands in the rectangular shape with the coat of arms in the centre. It was actually, the flag was used along with the flag given by the Swedish king, which I don't know what that looks like, but there you go. From the mid-1800s until 1917, a new tricolour flag with equal blue, red, and white bands was approved for Riga, and some sources place its origin to the 1830s. So basically like a Russia sort of looking flag. And during the 1920s, the blue and white flag of Riga was restored by 1935 with the addition of the coat of arms in the centre, which was officially approved on 4th of May 1937 and was flown until the Soviet occupation of Latvia in 1940. And then during the Soviet Latvia era, they had no official city flag, but they did hurriedly readopt a red flag in 1970 after the city was awarded the Order of Lenin with the different obverse and reverse side of the flag. And so the obverse side of the flag consisted of Lenin's portrait with a laurel branch and the inscription, "Workers of the World Unite" in Latvian. And the reverse side of the flag consisted of the coat of arms of the Latvian SSR and the inscription, "Riga City" in both Latvian and Russian. And so getting back to what we have now, in 1988, during the Singing Revolution, a highly regarded academic, Jānis Stradins, yes, I've probably said that wrong, led a campaign to return to the blue and white design. While the change was accepted on 5th of August 1988, the original blue-white flag of 1937 was ultimately restored by the City Council as the current flag on 20th of April 1990, and here we are. A little bit of history there for you.
That other flag sounds horrific.
It does.
We need to dig that out.
Yes, we do. So yeah, I actually don't mind it. It's not amazing, but you know, for a city flag that's sort of come and gone and come and gone and come back, it's not bad for a city flag. There's a lot worse out there. There really is. And I like the blue and the white. I think they look really nice together. Nice busy coat of arms just for Tariff in the centre. It's got keys and lions and all sorts going on. It's bloody fantastic. What are your thoughts, guys?
It's the lion peering through the gate in the castle as well. I think I've read up on this before, and that's at one point they weren't sure what the animal was that was peering out, trying to warn off some strange weakness, such as it's a bloody lion. But yes, as it goes, yeah, it's busy. But the one thing I liked about this is that, and with Riga's flag, is that unlike most city flags, this has a huge history, and there's lots of different city flags that have gone before it. Whereas most capital cities, it's the current one and possibly a previous one, and that's it. And indeed, with Vilnius and the other one, Estonia, Tallinn, that's pretty much it. Whereas, yes, Riga goes on and on and on with it, which is great. So it's got a huge history of its city flags. Yeah. The blue and the white, for me, they're a bit washed out, the blue. If it was a stronger blue, I'd probably get behind it a little bit better. I don't know. It's more sky blue than a.
I was gonna say it's a beautiful sky blue.
Yeah, it just the contrast against the white doesn't do it for me. That's all I can say.
I guess I like the blue and the white because it's very similar to my college basketball team, which is the North Carolina Tar Heels, which is Carolina blue and white. And it's very similar to what you're seeing with the blue and the white on the flag of Riga. What struck me about Riga's flag is not when I saw just one of them flying. There was some sort of a display in Riga when I was there, and I saw, God, it had to be 6 or 7 of them together flying. And I've never seen a city flag flying in mass. And it was just amazing to see it. I'm like, huh, you know, I looked past this flag the whole time I was in Riga, and I see 6 or 7 of them flying together, and it got my attention. It's like, you know, hey, look at me, pay attention to me. And I finally did. I'm like, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I mean, some flags.
I actually like the one behind you. It's quite a nice color.
Yeah,
the one on the computer screen we've got is kind of blank.
I was going to ask because that looks more like the Argentine colours,
yeah.
whereas the one we have here looks more like San Marino type. Yeah. So I wonder. I'm assuming that your flag is the correct colour.
I'll have to find it, but I can send you guys a picture of the flag that I took when it was flying in mass. I got this flag from a flag maker in Germany before I met Mr. Flag. So, Mr. Flag, if you're watching, I'm not cheating on you. But yeah, I assume that it is, but I'd have to look it up and see, and do some comparisons.
It looks a lot nicer than what we're looking at.
It was a pale blue. It was definitely a pale blue.
Yep. No, that's probably correct.
I wonder, Tara, does the lion that's looking through the castle traumatize you like Argentina's sun does?
You're going to ask me that. No, because he's indoors, as opposed to the son of May is right in your face. This one he's hidden. He's all right. I'm all right with this one. I don't get out by that. I just like how it's all sitting neatly on what looks like a fire mantelpiece little shelf. I think that's quite nice. All of it.
Oh, great.
It's very homely. So I'm going to finish off with the flag that I mentioned earlier, which is the historic state flag of Lithuania. And as you say, Joey, when you're in the capital, it's absolutely everywhere, on every street corner, in everywhere that you can find, in the middle of parks. You cannot go anywhere without seeing this flag flying somewhere. So what is it and who is it is a very good question. So initially, the current state flag, which is the big red rectangular flag with the knight on his rearing horse, is based on the 15th century pointy war flag that they originally had, which they used apparently during the Battle of Grunwald in 1410. Of course, we all remember it well. It's everything that we obviously taught at school, that particular one. And the horse apparently is chasing an unknown enemy. Whatever reason, but there we go. And it's called the Vitis flag. Don't ask me what that is or what that means, but that's what it's called. And it eventually became their official war flag of the country many moons ago. On the reverse of the current flag, they had the columns of Gediminas, which is like the letter W, but with the middle of the W higher than the others, if I've got that the right way around, of the other two prongs. So a simple plain idea, which I quite like. So I probably would prefer the reverse of this flag than the front of it. Anyway, it was used up until the 18th century when it was the Grand Duchy of Lithuania. And then the Russian Empire arrived and it was booted out at that stage. And as I said, during the, whatever it was, 1905, when they were trying to choose a new flag for Lithuania, this one was proposed that it should come back as the national flag, but it was rejected for being too, well, if I was on the board, it would have been for being too busy, obviously. But since then, 2004 is when it was officially granted a state flag. So although it's a historic flag, it's been re-granted as a state historic flag. And it's based on apparently one of the oldest, what have they called it here? One of the oldest symbols of state it can declare. So a bit like, I forget who mentioned was it you, Tracy, mentioned about the oldest, or one of the oldest flag symbols? Was it Latvia? That was one of the, I was listening. But going back to the point of who is that knight at the end of it, some modern history almost put it back as it's the Grand Duchy of Lithuania, but the flag predates the Grand Duchy. And there's a mention of a Sismund Kiribat, not Kiribati, who was a cousin of King Jubilee of Poland, and apparently was a delegate of the Grand Duke of Lithuania. And there's a mention of him in back in 1422 in Prague, apparently at the time, of which possibly linked to this flag, but again, they still don't know. So all in all, although this flag is huge throughout the country, and especially in the capital, they don't really know who it is that's riding on his horse, chasing an unknown enemy. But they use it anyway. And why not? And why not? So that's the official historic state flag of Lithuania.
Well, I like it. I think they should bring it back. Yeah, I'm all about it. Let's just scrap the national flag and bring this one back. I love it.
Yeah, I think it's great. I love how it's a unknown horseman chasing an unknown enemy.
I love it.
It's great.
Yeah.
No, but I think it's really good for a subnational flag. You know, if it was in a, I imagine it in a nice village or town with nice buildings and
hanging on an angle flagpole, dangling down over a street corner. I'm all about that. Yeah.
Nice, yeah. I'd be happy to have it flying around.
Lining the main street.
Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be pretty cool. It's very striking, actually, the red with the white. Very good contrast there. I think it's really cool.
Definitely. And the blue that goes with it as well is just subtle enough to bounce out, I think, at you. So I totally agree with the colour scheme they've got on there is spot on.
And I will say, there's definitely a subnational flag, not a national flag. It's definitely in that lane.
Yeah, I mentioned earlier that I had a shot glass with that flag or that symbol on it, and I do. And wherever I travel, I like to get a shot glass that has the country's flag on it. But I couldn't find one with the triband of Lithuania, but I could find one with this.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Just goes to show which is the better flag, just
Just shows that the people of Lithuania don't really have taste, seeing it's on every street corner. It's very bizarre that it's absolutely everywhere, as you say, Joey. It's almost to the point of you don't understand why it's not their national flag if it's so revered in such a way that it's so prominent everywhere. It's intriguing, I think, is the word that I found when I was wondering about. It's just that why is it everywhere compared to their national flag and indeed their capital city flag? It's just well.
Yeah, I was looking back through the pictures I took, and the Vilnius flag was hard for me to find.
Mm.
which you think
Yeah.
it wouldn't be, but it certainly was.
Yes.
Whereas
Which
Tallinn
is
was everywhere.
yes, yes.
And yes, this is Vilnius behind me. Some sort of, it has some similarities to what you had just described, but a little bit different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jesus
St.
gets
Christopher.
victory sign sitting on top of Poseidon. I don't know.
Yeah. Why have you got?
I have no idea why there were balloons that just went across my screen. You saw that too, right?
Right. Well, thank you, all of you. I think we'll draw this to a close. All it leaves me to say is thank you very much, Joey, Tracy, Dave, for joining us on this special Big Baltics Bonanza special. And I suppose we'll just go. So we've covered, let's just run that past. We've covered Estonia and is it Pärnu? Did you mention the place?
Pärnu.
Pärnu, yes. And what was the other place you mentioned?
Saaremaa.
Saaremaa, that's it. Yes, I didn't write that one down. But Latvia with the hedgehog flag as well, but obviously, and Riga, and indeed Lithuania and the state flag. So that's what we've covered today. Thank you very much for watching. There's more on a playlist, which I shall magically appear somewhere on this screen, of which you can see far more videos about the Baltic flags and everything related to them, which leaves me to say thanks very much again for everybody here participating. Thanks for you at home for watching, and we'll see you next time. Say goodbye, everybody. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.